Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nitin Chhoda and welcome to this important episode of Ignition Time. I'm going to highlight some of the new comments from the director of the White House Economic Council, Brian Deese, who spoke at a press briefing today. Super interesting comments. Keep in mind, Brian Deese, he's right here. Hello, Mr. Deese, is completely different in his attitude, in his approach, in some of the comments he makes, in his interpretation of the economy, compared with the last director of the White House Economic Council, Larry Kudlow. Hello, Mr. Kudlow. So Larry Kudlow is passed. Brian Deese is the present and the foreseeable future. I remember listening to Kudlow saying, "Hey, this is a V-shaped recovery. Auto sales are good. The stock market is booming." And Brian Deese, on the other hand, is basically saying the economy is at a very precarious moment. Much more needs to be done. People are hungry. People need help. Completely different realities from both White House Economic Council directors. Pretty incredible. Shows you the day and age that we live in right now. But let's take a look at important comments again from the new director of the White House Economic Council, Brian Deese, who was at a press briefing today with the White House Press Secretary Jennifer Psaki. And Brian Deese said that this administration is working on correcting, I quote, the errors and omissions of the previous administration. Yep, that the president was going to sign 2 executive orders today. That, by the way, has already happened. The president already signed those executive orders. Executive orders focusing on food assistance to hard-hit families, which is extremely important, and also increasing SNAP benefits for 12 million low-income Americans. Pretty incredible comments from the director of the White House, a new director, if you will, of the White House Economic Council, Brian Deese. He said the economy is at a very precarious point, and he highlighted some of the things that President Biden did today. Very interesting comments, and this essentially tells us where we are now heading as a country. I've always believed, I just want our viewers and subscribers to know, I've always believed it doesn't matter whether you're red or blue. For me, it's not about the red or the blue, it's about the red, white, and blue. I'm not Democrat, I'm not Republican, I'm American. We are all Americans first. I've always believed that help should go to those individuals who need it the most. Some of us need more help than others. Individuals in travel, leisure, entertainment, and hospitality have been impacted significantly more than others. Hunger. It makes me hard to even report this. Hunger is something that has been felt by millions of our fellow Americans for the first time. Just incredible. Honestly, it kind of reminds me of my mother. My mother's 75 years old and my mother lives with me. And my mother, when she moved in to live with me at the age of 71, for the first time in her life, my mother, for the first time in her life, when I got her a green card and when she came here and started living with me, for the first time in her life, my mother had a room of her own. Yep. A 71-year-old woman, for the first time in her life, having a room of her own. And my mind just went back to that when I thought of hunger for our fellow Americans for the first time. So let's take a look at comments from the director of the White House Economic Council, Brian Deese, who said the economy is at a very precarious moment. Let's roll the tape.
Our economy is at a very precarious moment. We are 10 million jobs short still of where the economy was when this pandemic started. Last month, the economy lost jobs for the first time since last spring. Retail sales fell last month, and just yesterday we saw another 900,000 Americans file for unemployment insurance. That's a weekly rate that is higher than any week during the Great Recession. It's a moment that requires decisive action to beat this pandemic and support the economic recovery that American families need. That's why a week ago, President Biden laid out a comprehensive American Rescue Plan, a plan that is focused on changing the course of the pandemic, getting students back in school, and giving families and businesses a bridge to the economic recovery, while also addressing the stark inequities in our economy that this crisis has exposed. We have been engaging closely with members of Congress, with governors, mayors, business and labor organizations in the weeks since, and will continue to do so, and hope that Congress will move quickly to consider this important proposal without delay. At the same time, the American people are hurting, and they can't afford to wait. They need help right now, and that's the motivation behind the actions that the president will take today. I want to be very clear. These actions are not a substitute for comprehensive legislative relief, but they will provide a critical lifeline to millions of families. So just to get into the specifics, the president will sign 2 executive orders today. The first directs agencies to consider a number of actions that will provide emergency relief for working families affected by the COVID-19 crisis within existing authorities and helping to correct some of the errors or omissions of the prior administration in providing families with relief. I just want to touch on a couple elements that are in that executive order to give you a sense of what we're talking about. On the issue of food insecurity, which is a growing crisis in America of hunger, nearly 30 million Americans last week said that they didn't have enough food to put on the table. So the president will ask the Department of Agriculture to consider taking immediate steps to provide nutrition assistance to hard-hit families. First, by increasing pandemic EBT benefits by about 15%. This is the program that is aimed at supporting families who traditionally rely on the school lunch program to provide meals to millions of kids through their schools. So in the pandemic EBT program provides direct assistance to families to cover those costs. But the way it is being implemented today doesn't get to the full costs necessary. So with these changes, an eligible family with 3 children would get about an additional $100 over 2 months to help pay for food. Second, increasing the SNAP benefits, emergency SNAP benefits for as many as 12 million low-income Americans. This is the core program targeted at preventing hunger in America. And these changes, again, for a family of 4 would mean about a 15 to 20% benefit increase. And third, revising the Thrifty Food Plan, which is really the basis for determining the SNAP benefits, is out of date and needs to be updated to better reflect the cost of a healthy diet.
Now, unlike the previous White House Economic Council director, Brian Deese is urging for quick action. He's urging that we take action quickly, we take action decisively, and he said the number one thing we can do right now is take decisive action. He also said that what President Biden signed today, the executive orders, are meant to be a bridge, if you will, a lifeline, and they are not a substitute for comprehensive legislation, meaning a large $1.9 trillion stimulus package. Keep in mind, we're not going to see the whole $1.9 trillion, but what they're trying to say is, hey, this is meant to be a lifeline. This is meant to be a bridge, if you will, to something larger. In fact, President Biden called the previous $900 billion package, I quote, a down payment. So you can see clearly the priorities of this administration are completely different, and they seem to be pushing aggressively for stimulus. And in the next video, I'll highlight the outreach that they are doing towards certain members of Congress, a bipartisan group of lawmakers. And I believe that this outreach is going to be significant and hopefully could lead to the end of the gridlock that we've seen so far. I'll cover that in a second video. But first, let's take a look at comments from the White House Economic Council Director Brian Deese talking about, I quote, the single most important thing right now is to take decisive action. Let's roll the tape and listen to Brian Deese.
Very much. If you are able to pass this nearly $2 trillion plan, do you envision this being the last round of stimulus, or do you think you may need to do more?
What I can tell you is if we don't act now, we will be in a much worse place, and we will find ourselves needing to do much more to dig out of a much deeper hole. So what I can tell you is the single most important thing economically right now is to take decisive action along the lines of what we've laid out in this rescue plan. And you hear, again, from economists across the board, whether it's the Federal Reserve, the International Monetary Fund, and economic experts across the political spectrum as well. When you're at a moment that is as precarious as the one we find ourselves in, the risk of doing too little, the risk of undershooting far outweighs the risk of doing too much. And that's the economic logic, the economic case behind this package. I think you've also heard the president clearly explain that his economic approach is one where rescue and recovery need to come together. And he'll be speaking more about his recovery plans in the coming weeks that are about building back better, an urgent priority to start creating the kinds of good jobs that we know we're going to need coming out of this crisis.
And after the recession, it took nearly a decade to get the country back to full employment under the Obama administration. If you're able to pass this rescue package, how long do you think it will take for every American who wants a job to be able to have one?
Well, I would just point to, just one example of an independent analysis that was done of the American Rescue Plan by Moody's. And what they said, what they found was that if we passed the American Rescue Plan now, we could see 7.5 million jobs created just this year. And we could see a return to full employment a full year ahead of what is projected if we don't. So those are the stakes involved. And without this kind of decisive action, we're going to have a much deeper economic hole. And that's why we are so focused on making the case for decisive action now.
So pretty interesting comments there from Brian Deese, the new director of the White House Economic Council. He's going to be reaching out very shortly to members of Congress, to a bipartisan group of lawmakers. In fact, I'm going to give you that list of lawmakers that are in the new bipartisan group. Here's a list of lawmakers in the new bipartisan group that are going to be communicating with the White House, with the administration, when it comes to the next round of stimulus. These are very important lawmakers. Their names will be coming up again and again. These lawmakers are, let's start with the Republicans: Todd Young from Indiana, Jerry Moran from Kansas, Shelley Moore Capito from West Virginia, Susan Collins from Maine, who was just re-elected, Senator Lisa Murkowski from Alaska. Now, here's something interesting. Senator Lisa Murkowski, Todd Young from Indiana, and Jerry Moran from Kansas are due for re-election. They're up for re-election in 2022. Super interesting. So, the other senators, the Republicans: Mitt Romney from Utah, he was just re-elected. Rob Portman from Ohio, who is up for re-election in 2022. Bill Cassidy from Louisiana. So these are the Republican senators. Now, these are the Democratic senators. Joe Manchin from West Virginia. I call him the conservative Democrat. Mark Warner from Virginia. Dick Durbin from Illinois. Jeanne Shaheen from New Hampshire. Angus King from Maine. He's actually an independent, but he tends to side with the Democrats. Maggie Hassan from New Hampshire. Senator Hassan is up for re-election in 2022. John Hickenlooper from Colorado. And Mark Kelly from Arizona, who, by the way, is also up for re-election. So those were the bipartisan group of lawmakers who will be hearing from, who will be reached out to by the White House Economic Council Director, Brian Deese, who you've been listening to in this video. Let's hope they come to an agreement. I'll surely keep you posted. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. I want you to know that you are greatly appreciated. If you don't know anything about me, please check out my video. You'll learn a little bit more about who I am, what my journey has been like, and why you should listen to me. For me, it's not about the red or the blue. It's about the red, white, and blue. I'm not Democrat. I'm not Republican. I'm American. We are all Americans first. I want you to know that I work very hard on this channel because I want to give you the latest information about the country that in turn impacts the economy, the day-to-day functioning of the country, and then by extension, your money. I encourage you to get on our SMS list, get your cell phone out, send a text message with the word ignition or with the word time to 70,000, that's 70000, and you'll get added to our SMS alerts list moving forward. You can opt out of the SMS list at any point in time that you want. We'll send you breaking news and alerts on your cell phone, and you can opt out of them at any time you want. Also, please get on our email list. To get on our email list, simply go to ignitiontime.com/alerts. That's ignitiontime.com/alerts. We look forward to having you as part of our growing community. Now, you can also follow us on Instagram. Our Instagram handle is ignition_time. That's ignition_time. You can also, if you like, follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is also ignition_time. The unique thing about Twitter, and you'll see my Twitter page on your screen right now. The unique thing about Twitter is you'll see what I'm reading. I retweet in real time. You'll be able to essentially follow along with me. So I encourage you to follow me on Twitter because our Twitter community is growing very, very rapidly. Speaking of community, I encourage you to comment below and become a part of our growing community. One of the things I'm proud about is the fact that our community is intelligent, bipartisan, respectful, and our community is growing very, very rapidly. So I invite you to join our community. I think you'll love it. Also, please share this video with just 2 friends or family members. Share this video with 2 friends or family members, and that tells the YouTube algorithm that you found the content helpful. I would appreciate that. You'll find the links to all of our resources in the description section below. And one final thing, please click like, please subscribe, please enable notifications. I would really appreciate that. That does help out the YouTube algorithm. Look, folks, I've been covering a lot of different types of information. So I cover stimulus information where I talk about lots of money. I've been covering politics where I talk about everything that went on with Trump. everything that's now going on with President Biden, everything that's going on between Speaker Pelosi, everything that's going on between the Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell and the new Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, and the new balance of power in the United States, which is that the Democrats having control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency. But they need to work, and they should work with the Republicans, because the best decisions come about when both sides work together. I'm hoping that every day can be a party atmosphere and we can be dancing together. Now, those were my dancing skills. No, but seriously, I want to make sure that you have the right information to manage your money. And then I want to give you the right information as far as politics is going on, as far as all these players, President Biden, House Speaker Pelosi, the Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, the Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, what all of these individuals are doing and the impact that it has on the economy, which by extension has an impact on your money. So I'm covering all this in detail and trying to bring you the information so it's easy for you to understand. So please click like, please subscribe, please enable notifications. I would really appreciate that. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time.